The night is quiet, but not entirely silent. Somewhere, deep within the dense jungles of Central America, a faint rustling echoes through the towering trees. The moon, barely peeking through thick layers of clouds, casts ghostly shadows across moss-covered stones. These aren't just any stones, they are ancient monuments, carved with symbols that have baffled historians for centuries. Monolithic heads, some larger than a modern house, stare blankly into the darkness, their expressionless faces seemingly aware of secrets we may never fully understand. Scholars call this place the cradle of the Olmec civilization, one of the earliest in the Americas. They have theories, of course. They point to evidence, to the painstaking labor required to move massive basalt boulders from distant quarries, to the artistic skill that carved eyes, lips, and chins with astonishing precision. Archaeology tries to explain it all: social structures, trade routes, and early religious practices. Science speaks in cautious certainty, weaving a narrative of human ingenuity, labor, and adaptation. But legends tell a different story. Local myths whisper of beings that came from the sky, gods who walked among men, shaping the very stones with knowledge lost to time. Some say these colossal heads are not just monuments, but messages, coded warnings, or even maps to a hidden truth buried deep beneath the jungle floor. What if the Olmecs were not merely primitive artists and builders, but custodians of forbidden knowledge that modern science struggles, and perhaps fails, to grasp? Imagine standing in that jungle at midnight. The air is thick, humid, almost electric, charged with the weight of centuries. Every stone seems to hum faintly, as if resonating with secrets buried beneath the earth. You can't shake the feeling that eyes, ancient, knowing, and unseen, are watching you. And in that moment, the boundary between history and myth begins to blur. You start to wonder, are we looking at the work of humans alone, or something far more mysterious, something deliberately hidden? This is the question we will explore. Over the next few hours, we will journey through lost civilizations, forgotten rituals, and unsolved enigmas. We will confront the tension between tangible evidence and tantalizing legend, examining clues that mainstream history often overlooks or dismisses. From the colossal Olmec heads to forbidden temples hidden beneath layers of jungle, from cryptic writings to strange astronomical alignments, every discovery challenges what we think we know. But beware, the deeper we go, the stranger the story becomes. Ancient records may contradict each other, artifacts may vanish under suspicious circumstances, and whispers of secret knowledge may lead us down paths we are not fully prepared to walk. By the end of this journey, you will be forced to confront an unsettling possibility, that history, as we understand it, might only be a shadow of a far more mysterious reality. So, take a deep breath. Step quietly into the past, and let your imagination wander where the facts hesitate. Because tonight, we will begin to peel back the layers of time, unearthing secrets that have waited, silently, for centuries. Secrets that may reveal not just the story of an ancient people, but the story of our own curiosity, and our relentless quest to know the unknowable. The Olmecs are often called the mother culture of Mesoamerica, yet despite centuries of study, they remain shrouded in mystery. Flourishing between roughly 1500 and 400 BCE along the tropical lowlands of what is now southern Mexico, they left behind monumental stone heads, intricately carved jade figurines, and the earliest known examples of writing in the region. These artifacts hint at a society of remarkable sophistication, one that could mobilize labor for massive construction projects and develop complex religious and ceremonial systems. But what makes the Olmecs truly fascinating is how little we know about the people themselves. Who were they, really? How did they wield such influence over later civilizations like the Maya and Aztec? Archaeologists point to their stone monuments, some towering over 3 meters tall, as evidence of extraordinary skill. Each colossal head, carved from basalt transported tens of kilometers from distant quarries, bears unique facial features that suggest individualized portraits, leaders, priests, or perhaps even deities. The craftsmanship alone raises questions. How could a civilization with no metal tools carve and transport these massive stones with such precision? Skeptics argue it was sheer human ingenuity honed over generations. Yet local legends and myths whisper of outsiders, of beings who possessed knowledge beyond ordinary humans, an echo of the idea that these were not merely artisans, but keepers of forbidden wisdom. The Olmecs also left a trail of symbols and glyphs, tantalizingly incomplete, that hint at one of the earliest writing systems in the Americas. These inscriptions are rare, fragmented, and often found on ceremonial objects rather than everyday tools, suggesting that literacy may have been the domain of a religious elite. Were these glyphs mere record-keeping, or could they encode esoteric knowledge, perhaps even secrets of the universe as the myths suggest? Scholars debate endlessly, with each discovery sparking more questions than answers. Adding to the enigma are depictions of strange, almost otherworldly beings in Olmec art. Some statues appear hybrid, part human, part jaguar, evoking a connection between humans and the divine or even extraterrestrial. Could these images reflect shamanic practices, altered states of consciousness, or something stranger entirely? Every carved stone seems to whisper a riddle. The Olmecs achieved something extraordinary, but what, and why, is still obscured by time. Finally, there's the question of their disappearance. By 400 BCE, the Olmec heartland was largely abandoned. Was it environmental collapse, internal strife, or something more mysterious that led to their decline? What knowledge, technologies, or rituals might have been lost forever? Each archaeological site offers fragments of an answer, yet the full picture remains tantalizingly out of reach, inviting modern explorers, historians, and curious minds alike to peer deeper into the shadows of history. As the flickering torchlight dances across the stone walls of forgotten caves, the figures begin to emerge. Not ordinary depictions of humans or animals, but beings that straddle a terrifying and fascinating boundary, jaguar-like faces melded with human bodies, creatures with elongated heads and eerie, knowing eyes that seem to follow the viewer. These are the gods of the Olmec civilization, the earliest known civilization in Mesoamerica, whose enigmatic presence still haunts archaeologists and historians alike. The question lingers, were these simply artistic representations, or did they capture something far more profound, entities or knowledge that transcended ordinary human experience? One of the most striking examples comes from La Venta, where colossal heads, carved from single blocks of basalt, display facial features so individualized and precise that many scholars argue they may depict real people, yet there's something uncanny about them. Some heads feature slanted, feline-like eyes and pronounced lips, suggesting a hybridization between human and jaguar. In Olmec mythology, the jaguar is no ordinary animal, it is a symbol of power, the underworld, and spiritual transformation. Could these stone figures have been a gateway into shamanic visions, a bridge to a supernatural reality the Olmecs glimpsed but never fully revealed? Cave paintings add another layer of enigma. In remote, nearly inaccessible locations, faded murals reveal beings with multiple faces, clawed hands, and horn-like projections from their heads. Their postures suggest ritualistic significance, perhaps a shamanic trance, but their forms defy conventional understanding. One can't help but wonder whether these depictions were inspired by the visions of those who had glimpsed a hidden world, or if they were warnings, a record of encounters that modern science refuses to recognize. Adding to the mystery, some artifacts appear to depict creatures with features that are biologically impossible, a combination of reptilian scales, feline teeth, and human anatomy. These anomalies have fueled speculation among alternative historians and conspiracy theorists alike. Were these gods imagined by the Olmecs, or were they documenting something real that has since been lost to time? The ambiguity is deliberate, almost teasing. Each artifact, each carving, each mural seems to whisper, "We saw something you cannot yet comprehend." Even today, when we examine these creations under the lens of modern science, many questions remain unanswered. Carbon dating and chemical analysis can tell us the age of the stones and pigments, but they cannot explain why these gods were depicted in forms so alien, so unsettlingly precise. And the more we study them, the more we realize that these were not mere symbols, they were portals, coded messages, or perhaps warnings. The Olmecs, it seems, had access to knowledge that walked the fine line between divine inspiration and forbidden truth. As viewers, we are left suspended in that tension between awe and fear, forced to confront the unsettling idea that some knowledge is so ancient, so profound, that it resists rational explanation. The forbidden gods of the Olmec civilization are not just relics, they are invitations to question reality itself, to peer into a world where myth and history intertwine, and to wonder whether the line between human and divine is far thinner than we ever imagined. When the first colossal Olmec heads were unearthed, scholars were astonished. These stone giants, some towering over 9 feet, seemed impossibly lifelike, each bearing distinct facial features as if capturing individual personalities. Traditional archaeology struggled to explain not only the scale but the craftsmanship. How could a civilization over 3,000 years ago, without metal tools or the wheel, carve such precise forms from massive basalt blocks weighing tens of tons? The quarries were sometimes miles away from the sites where the statues were erected, adding another layer of mystery. How were these monoliths transported? Scientific studies have attempted to shed light on these questions. Petrographic analysis reveals that the Olmecs sourced basalt from distant volcanic highlands. Experimental archaeology has demonstrated that with sheer manpower, ropes, and wooden rollers, moving the stones is theoretically possible, but the precision achieved at these sites still baffles modern engineers. Even more perplexing are the carvings themselves. Some figures appear to wear helmets or ceremonial headgear, hinting at ritualistic purposes, yet the iconography remains enigmatic. Beyond the colossal heads, smaller artifacts show an equally unsettling sophistication. Jade figurines, often no larger than a hand, display minute anatomical accuracy. Teeth, eyes, and even fingernails were rendered in astonishing detail, polished to a finish that seems almost surgical. Conventional explanations attribute this to skilled artisans, but skeptics wonder, could human hands alone achieve such perfection without magnification tools? Some researchers whisper that the Olmecs possessed lost techniques, or knowledge, that the modern world cannot replicate. This section also introduces the tension between academic caution and public fascination. Museums display these artifacts as marvels of early Mesoamerican culture, yet many textbooks skirt the deeper questions. Why do some carvings depict hybrid creatures, blending human, feline, and reptilian traits? Are these purely symbolic, or do they hint at something stranger, an unknown aspect of Olmec cosmology or encounters beyond recorded history? As we navigate the boundary between fact and speculation, viewers are invited to weigh the evidence. Science explains the materials, methods, and probable intentions. Myth whispers of forbidden knowledge, ancient power, and a civilization capable of feats that challenge our understanding of the past. In this crossroads of discovery, the Olmec relics stand not just as art but as silent witnesses to a story science struggles to tell, a story that may force us to reconsider what it means to be advanced, intelligent, or even human in the ancient world. The jaguar looms over Olmec iconography like a shadow from another world, its gaze both commanding and enigmatic. From colossal stone heads to small jade figurines, the jaguar's presence is inescapable, and scholars have long debated its true meaning. Some argue it represents raw power and authority, the ultimate symbol of a ruler's dominance over both people and nature. In the dense jungles of Mesoamerica, where the jaguar reigned as apex predator, this connection would have been unmistakable. To see the animal in everyday life, in ritual, or in art, was to recognize the tangible force of the natural world and the divine sanction behind it. Yet, others propose that the jaguar symbolizes more than sheer strength. Many anthropologists point to its association with fertility, transformation, and the spiritual realm. Shamanic traditions in Mesoamerica often describe journeys into the underworld, where humans could morph into jaguar-like beings to communicate with spirits or navigate dangerous liminal spaces. Could the jaguar carvings and motifs reflect not just power, but a culture steeped in mystical practices, where humans and beasts blurred into one? Ancient Olmec shamans may have perceived the jaguar as a conduit between the mundane and the supernatural, a creature capable of bridging realities. But then, a more provocative theory arises, one that teeters on the edge of myth and speculation. Some researchers suggest the jaguar depictions might not be entirely symbolic. Could they hint at real-life hybridizations or encounters with entities unknown to science? Certain sculptures show figures with human bodies but distinctly jaguar-like faces, musculature, and claws, almost as if the artists were recording something tangible rather than imagined. Could these be early attempts at genetic manipulation? Or evidence of a race of beings that walked the earth alongside humans, hidden in the dense forests and only glimpsed through art? The evidence remains tantalizingly ambiguous. Radiocarbon dating of ceremonial sites shows that jaguar imagery consistently coincides with elite tombs and sacred spaces. Jade and basalt artifacts, painstakingly carved, suggest immense reverence and ritual importance. But the lack of written Olmec records leaves us with only the silent testimony of stone. Every sculpture, every carving, whispers secrets we may never fully understand. Was the jaguar a spiritual protector, a ruler's totem, or a record of something truly extraordinary? What makes the jaguar truly compelling is its duality, power and mystery intertwined. This duality mirrors the Olmec civilization itself, advanced yet enigmatic, monumental yet elusive. By studying these depictions, we confront the broader question: how much of history is tangible fact, and how much is myth veiled in symbolism? Every jaguar's gaze seems to challenge us, daring us to peer deeper into a civilization that straddled the line between the known and the unknown. In the end, the jaguar is more than an animal, it is a symbol of the Olmec's mastery over both physical and spiritual realms, a reminder that the past is never as simple as it seems, and some mysteries are meant to endure. The Olmecs, often called the mother culture of Mesoamerica, left behind monumental centers that still whisper secrets millennia later. La Venta, perched on a natural plateau, and San Lorenzo, sprawling across river terraces, were not mere settlements, they were sacred landscapes, meticulously designed to channel power, both earthly and otherworldly. Here, every stone, every mound, every massive basalt head seems to pulse with intent, hinting at rituals the modern mind struggles to comprehend. As we move through these ancient ceremonial centers, one cannot help but feel the weight of the unknown. Hidden beneath mounds that now appear as simple earthworks, archaeologists have discovered chambers and passageways carved with precision into the bedrock. These subterranean spaces were deliberately concealed, shielded from the casual observer, suggesting they were reserved for select individuals, priests, shamans, or initiates, who communed with forces that ordinary humans were forbidden to touch. In one chamber at La Venta, for instance, archaeologists uncovered a series of stone altars, aligned with a precision that mirrors celestial events. It's easy to imagine the flicker of torchlight revealing intricate carvings, the air thick with incense and chanting, as initiates witnessed visions meant only for the chosen few. San Lorenzo offers its own enigmas. Alongside colossal heads that dominate the landscape, hidden niches and sunken platforms have been found, often containing offerings of jade, obsidian, and mysterious figurines. These artifacts, placed with care, suggest ceremonies that went beyond mere homage to the gods. Were these objects meant to open doors to other realms? To communicate with beings whose presence was too powerful, too forbidden, for the uninitiated? Scholars can analyze the placement and composition of these offerings, but the spiritual resonance, the palpable fear, awe, and anticipation felt by the Olmecs themselves, remains elusive, leaving modern science with only partial glimpses of an ancient experience. One particularly haunting discovery at La Venta involved a tunnel that seemed almost deliberately sealed, as though the ancients had wanted to hide something that was never meant to be seen. When excavators breached the entrance, they found carvings that defied easy interpretation, figures with elongated heads, serpentine motifs, and symbols that appeared to shimmer in torchlight. Some have speculated that these passages were conduits for rituals of transformation, journeys not just of the body but of the soul, where participants confronted forces far beyond the natural world. The idea is both tantalizing and unsettling, that beneath the visible landscape of pyramids and plazas, the Olmecs engineered spaces to traverse the forbidden. Yet, the tension between modern understanding and ancient experience is stark. Archaeologists see stratigraphy, carbon dating, and artifact distribution. They map mounds, catalog jade offerings, and reconstruct temple layouts. But they cannot replicate the hypnotic drumbeats echoing through stone corridors, the pungent aroma of sacred resins, or the psychological immersion of a ritual performed under the weight of ancestral expectation. It is precisely in this gap, between what is measurable and what is felt, that the Olmec sacred sites retain their mystery. Stories from excavations often read like encounters with the supernatural. In San Lorenzo, a team reported inexplicable temperature shifts within a chamber, moments when the walls seemed to hum. Others have described feeling a presence, an unseen awareness, as if the very stones remembered the forbidden rites performed millennia ago. Whether these sensations are physiological, psychological, or something else entirely, they amplify the idea that these were not mere ceremonial centers, they were threshold spaces. Here, the living brushed against realms humans were not meant to enter, and perhaps, through ritual, glimpsed the forbidden gods themselves. The Olmecs, in crafting La Venta and San Lorenzo, did not merely build, they created gateways, architectural vessels for mystery, awe, and forbidden knowledge. Today, we can step into these ancient spaces and touch the stones, but the true rituals, the sacred communion, remain locked in the shadows of time, whispering secrets that only the daring or the initiated could ever hope to understand. The Olmecs, often called the mother civilization of Mesoamerica, left behind relics that continue to baffle archaeologists and historians alike. Their colossal heads, finely carved jade figurines, and enigmatic monuments hint at a society that possessed knowledge far beyond what should have been possible for their time. But what was the source of this knowledge? Was it merely observation and trial and error, or were the Olmecs in contact with forces, or entities, that humanity has long forgotten? At sites like La Venta and San Lorenzo, the layout of ceremonial centers suggests more than just practicality. Mounds and plazas are aligned in ways that correlate with celestial events, solstices, equinoxes, and even the precise movements of Venus. Modern scientists argue this could have been coincidental, or the result of keen observation. Yet some scholars propose a more unsettling idea: the Olmecs might have tapped into a form of knowledge deliberately hidden from ordinary perception, a kind of forbidden wisdom encoded in the landscape itself. Then there are the artifacts themselves. Intricate jade masks, miniature thrones, and figurines depict creatures that seem part human, part animal, and sometimes entirely alien. These figures defy classification, suggesting the Olmecs either imagined beings beyond earthly experience or were recording entities they truly encountered. Some researchers posit that these were shamanic visions, the product of hallucinogenic rituals meant to bridge the material world and a hidden spiritual dimension. Others whisper of something even stranger, that these were not visions at all, but memories of encounters with beings the ancients called gods, entities who imparted knowledge at the risk of mortal understanding. Even the Olmec script, still largely undeciphered, holds secrets. Recent discoveries of glyphs carved into stone tablets and pottery suggest a symbolic language rich with meaning, possibly encoding astronomical data, agricultural cycles, or esoteric teachings. The precision and sophistication of this script raises a chilling question: did the Olmec stumble upon a system of knowledge too dangerous or too powerful for most humans to wield? Or was this the language of those forbidden gods, passed down selectively to chosen priests and rulers? Contrast this with modern interpretations. Scientists rely on carbon dating, soil analysis, and comparative study of Mesoamerican cultures to piece together the Olmec world. They see early advancements in urban planning, social hierarchy, and ritual practice as evidence of ingenuity born from necessity. But every new excavation seems to produce anomalies that defy conventional logic: a subterranean tunnel whose purpose is unclear, a tomb with unusual artifacts that don't match known burial customs, or a carving of a figure whose posture and symbols imply knowledge of cosmic forces. The tension between fact and mystery is irresistible. Every artifact and architectural marvel suggests a civilization straddling the boundary between human understanding and something profoundly alien. Were the Olmecs simply clever humans, or were they the recipients of forbidden truths carefully guarded by enigmatic powers? The evidence points in both directions, leaving historians, archaeologists, and enthusiasts suspended in a shadowy realm where science and legend converge. By the end of this section, the audience is left questioning everything they thought they knew about early civilizations. The Olmecs were more than stone carvers and farmers, they were custodians of lost knowledge, a civilization that may have glimpsed truths the modern world is only beginning to imagine. As we move deeper into the story, the boundaries between the possible and the impossible will blur even further, guiding us toward the most forbidden secrets yet uncovered. This section delves into contemporary encounters, findings, and reports connected to Olmec sites, showing how the legacy of forbidden knowledge may have persisted into the present. Begin by highlighting recent archaeological discoveries that still puzzle experts, artifacts that seem deliberately hidden, carvings that defy conventional interpretation, and structural anomalies in ceremonial sites. Introduce first-hand accounts from explorers, locals, and researchers who report inexplicable phenomena, fleeting shadows in subterranean chambers, strange sounds resonating from ancient altars, or sudden, overwhelming feelings in spaces long abandoned. Contrast these experiences with scientific explanations, such as acoustic anomalies, geological formations, or optical illusions, but keep the tension alive by showing that some encounters stubbornly resist rational interpretation. Bring in indigenous oral traditions or legends that speak of gods and spirits that linger near sacred sites, framing these stories not as folklore alone but as echoes of an ancient, possibly forbidden knowledge that still resonates today. Use cinematic storytelling techniques, describe the setting in rich sensory detail, from the oppressive humidity of jungle-covered ruins to the chilling silence of hidden tunnels. Build suspense with accounts of researchers finding inscriptions or artifacts that seem intentionally designed to evoke fear or awe, and hint that these objects may contain knowledge humanity is not ready to understand. End the section with a thought-provoking contrast. While modern science seeks patterns, measurements, and explanations, the human experience of these sites continues to evoke wonder, dread, and fascination, suggesting that the Olmec may have created spaces meant to endure as mysterious, even millennia later. This sets up the transition into the next section on lost knowledge and forbidden texts, reinforcing the theme of hidden truths that straddle the line between fact and myth. As we reach the penultimate chapter of this unfolding enigma, the question lingers: what truly lies behind the Olmec civilization's most secretive accomplishments? Scholars and enthusiasts alike have long debated the origins and purpose of their colossal stone heads, intricate ceremonial complexes, and the enigmatic symbols etched into their art. Some see these as mere cultural artifacts, a testament to a society that achieved sophistication through ingenuity alone. But others are not so easily convinced. One of the most tantalizing theories is that of extraterrestrial influence. Proponents suggest that the precision and scale of Olmec monuments, some weighing tens of tons, could not have been achieved with the technology of the time. Could there have been visitors from another world who shared knowledge or inspired their art? Supporters of this idea point to certain recurring motifs, elongated skulls, depictions of strange, otherworldly figures, that seem almost alien in origin. Yet, mainstream archaeology remains cautious, noting that the Olmecs, like many ancient cultures, demonstrated remarkable engineering through ingenuity and organization rather than extraterrestrial assistance. Still, the question persists: are these interpretations the result of human imagination, or could they hint at a more profound, cosmic connection? Then there is the notion of forbidden knowledge encoded within ritual practices. Some researchers argue that the Olmec sacred sites were designed not only for spiritual ceremonies but as conduits for hidden information, knowledge passed down through generations, deliberately obscured from outsiders. These hidden meanings might be mathematical, astronomical, or even metaphysical in nature. Patterns in their art, alignments of pyramids, and subterranean chambers could all serve as keys to understanding a worldview that modern science only partially grasps. This raises a haunting question: what was considered too dangerous or sacred for public understanding, and why were such secrets buried beneath the earth for centuries? Another provocative idea involves genetic or biological experimentation. While highly speculative, some fringe theories suggest that the Olmec's depictions of hybrid creatures and humanoid forms could hint at experimentation with selective breeding or symbolic representations of transformation. Skeptics dismiss these claims as imaginative projection, but they continue to fuel discussions about the limits of human curiosity and the extremes to which societies might go to harness power, knowledge, or spiritual connection. Finally, there are those who view all these enigmas as purely symbolic representations, a coded language of myth, philosophy, and cosmology. In this view, the Olmecs were masters of metaphor, embedding lessons about life, death, and the cosmos into every carving, every mound, every ceremonial artifact. Here, the mystery lies not in alien intervention or secret rituals but in understanding the human mind's capacity to encode profound ideas in tangible form. What is striking across all these speculations is the tension between certainty and ambiguity. Science provides frameworks and dates, offering reasoned explanations for stone and soil. But in the shadows of the Olmec world, where colossal heads stare silently across millennia, we are reminded that some knowledge may remain forever elusive. Perhaps the most compelling theory is that the truth itself is multifaceted, existing somewhere between myth and fact, visible yet always just out of reach, inviting us to wonder, question, and imagine. As we move to the final section, we are left with this inescapable conclusion: the Olmecs, in their silence, challenge not just our understanding of history, but our imagination, beckoning us to peer into the unknown and confront the possibility that some mysteries are designed to endure. This section delves into the enduring influence of the Olmec gods and the mysteries they left behind. It explores how the echoes of these forbidden deities may have shaped later Mesoamerican civilizations and examines the tension between what archaeology uncovers and what remains hidden in myth and memory. The narrative contrasts scientific evidence with the lingering whispers of ancient knowledge, inviting the audience into a world where the line between history and legend blurs. Long after the Olmecs vanished from the tropical lowlands, traces of their enigmatic gods persisted, haunting the civilizations that followed. Scholars note uncanny similarities in iconography, religious symbolism, and ceremonial practices among the Maya, Zapotecs, and even the later Aztecs. Massive stone heads, jaguar motifs, and depictions of otherworldly beings suggest a continuity of belief, as if the Olmecs had encoded a secret language of divinity that could survive centuries. Yet the question lingers: did these later societies merely imitate their predecessors, or were they attempting to commune with the same forbidden forces that had inspired the Olmecs? The answer remains tantalizingly out of reach. Archaeologists have unearthed artifacts that hint at rituals too complex, too precise, to be purely symbolic. Tiny figurines with exaggerated features, depictions of transformation between human and beast, and traces of substances likely used in ceremonial rites suggest a spiritual technology lost to time. Modern science can analyze composition, carbon dating, and patterns, but it cannot capture the mystical resonance these objects once held. Perhaps the Olmecs, in their communion with these forbidden gods, glimpsed realms inaccessible to ordinary humans. And perhaps they left us fragments deliberately shrouded in mystery, teasing future generations with half-remembered truths. Stories from local oral traditions reinforce this sense of lingering power. Legends speak of hidden caves where the gods still dwell, invisible to the uninitiated. Some claim that those who seek too earnestly are never seen again, swallowed by the very secrets they pursue. In this sense, the Olmec legacy is not just a historical curiosity, it is a cautionary tale about the dangers of uncovering knowledge meant to remain hidden. Even today, researchers continue to debate the purpose of these artifacts and the extent of Olmec influence. The forbidden gods, it seems, have left an indelible mark not only on Mesoamerican culture but also on human imagination. As the jungle reclaims the ruins and the shadows deepen over ancient stone, one cannot help but feel that the Olmecs achieved something beyond the reach of ordinary understanding, a sacred knowledge that transcends time, a reminder that some mysteries are meant to be both seen and forever concealed.